If you have the ability, just buy the LG G3. If they're even remotely online, buy the G3. That's the simple answer that none of these YouTubers you're watching are going to tell you. They'll tell you in little roundabout ways that if you have a G3, then stick with the G3 and don't upgrade to the G4, but they'll never tell you that that means just buy the G3. It doesn't mean buy the G4 if you don't have a G4 and if you come from something older. It means buy the G3. And I'm going to use today's example being AV Forums, right? Yet another reviewer. Again, their review has been up for over a month, so you can't even say that this information hasn't been out there. This is my way of showing you that sometimes it's just better to understand not everything brand new is always going to be worth your money, especially when it costs as much as the G4 does. Here's the reality. It's an incremental upgrade at best. Everybody knows it, and so many people are sidestepping that as the truth that it is. But the reality is, when you really listen to what they say, they reveal it. So again, look at AV Forums. They literally talk about it being best in class and all this stuff. But the truth is, when you really narrow it down, they can't help but tell you how identical it is to the LG G3. They also can't help but say that it's only a 100 nit difference between those two panels. And that, the G3 has most of the features of the G4 and largely in part most of the picture quality experience. Why would you buy a TV that's newer that literally has the same picture? Because if it's identical, that means it's relatively imperceptible. And I guarantee you, regular everyday people aren't going to really notice that big of a difference because these experts aren't really noticing that big of a difference. So here's the deal. The LG G4, for all intents and purposes, is pointless and cannot compete because it's a slight upgrade to the G3. It's basically the LG G3 2.0. And when you look at all their footage in the background of all of these YouTubers' videos, WOLED is showing you it's washed out, ugly color. Everything looks dead, like it's been hit with a frost filter or like the zombie apocalypse. It's either overly jaundiced or overly blue, and there is no in between. They don't have these gorgeous, vibrant images that make you want to continue to watch TV. Instead, these images make you want to turn off TV. And that's just as real as it gets. They'll champion filmmaker mode being so reference accurate out of the box, but truly that's to a standard that is over 30 plus years old at this point in time, that did not have quantum dots and that did not understand difference levels of brightness that we have today of upwards of, well, even now with some LEDs going into 5,000 nits and for OLEDs over 2,000 nits. It's to the point where you really can't justify using those old reference standards on new displays for SDR content. It just doesn't exist. And for HDR, there is no freaking standard at all. It's just a free-for-all. HLG, Dolby Vision, HDR10 Plus, everyone's doing their own thing. This makes it a lot harder to narrow down a quality set because, again, everybody then has their own opinion as to what's superior. I can't tell you how many times I hear people tell me as a Samsung owner, oh, you should probably avoid them because they don't have Dolby Vision. I've never needed it because I just use SDR, and even when I use HDR, there's not really much of a difference. And in fact, on things like the Sony A95L and even my Sony AG Bravia OLED, Dolby Vision is just dimmer than HDR10 in general, and I usually turn it off. Just that being put out there. But back to the LG C4, or G4 rather. Pointless. Only thing I could use to say anything helpful for you is just buy last year's model. Now, again, there are people that believe heavily in the technology of MLA Plus and the meta technology because that marketing worked really well. And that's marketing's job. It's to make you believe that there's a tangible difference between one model to another to a point where you'd need to spend more money or would want to buy one over the other. But the truth is, it's not a real difference at all. And most people that have ever seen the G4 will tell you as much. It is just meh. Now, I don't personally own a G4, which is why I'm not showing you my G4 footage, but I can tell you, having seen it myself, it's just lackluster. Like, it is not anywhere near what they're telling you it is. People say that they're blown away and they're mesmerized by what? A 100 nit difference? At a certain point in time, we have to kind of call the placebo effect what it is. It's the placebo effect. Because if you literally bought the LG G3 and the G4 and put them side by side in the same room, I promise you, you would not really be able to see a difference at all, especially in color. Because WOLED has no new color technology this year. It's all about brightness. But again, when you make a WOLED brighter, all you're doing is washing out the color more. So in fact, that 100 nits of brightness is actually more detrimental than the G3, which would appear sharper with with better color because it's not getting as bright. It is a big farce. And honestly speaking, it's one of those things that make me just kind of wash my hands of the whole thing entirely and say, you know what? It is what it is. Frankly, I'm not here to tell you what to buy, but I am here to guide you into what direction would be best given somebody who wants quality and not breaking the bank too much. I have been telling everyone buy the Samsung S90D because it is the champion of this year so far. There will be other TVs I review, and then of course we'll do a end of year champion. But right now, I really don't see you buying a better set than that. I mean, it has everything you could want. Now, again, there is a panel lottery with the WOLED being included in the S90D, which makes it confusing for some folks. But again, I just say, like I've been saying, QD-OLED sizes are 55 to 65 inches. Stop trying to buy stadium-sized TVs with QD-OLED. That's best I could tell you. Now, there are some people that say that the 77-inch is also QD-OLED, which there you go. There's your stadium size. Don't try to go 83 because you'll probably run into issues, or 42, so on and so forth. The idea being simply this: even with issues that exist on the QD-OLED line, there are other QD-OLED TVs to pick from. Things like the Sony A95K, A95L, you have other options, so you don't always have to go with Samsung if you don't want to do the panel lottery, but there is a premium attached to that. But again, looking at the G4 and how you're looking at the G4, there's a premium regardless. And I honestly, truly want you to understand, you really are wasting your money in 2024 if you are buying any TV, regardless of manufacturer, without quantum dots. Quantum dots are the future of TV technology. I think we can see that in every aspect of what Nanosys is doing and where companies are going. And if you try to get around that and you try to cheap out, or not even cheap out, just overpay for something that is on its way out, like WOLED, you're going to be disappointed in the long run. Until they create new color, WOLED is the same as it's always been. And this year, it's just a little bit brighter, but pretty much all the features are the same. It's the same damn TV. You are hearing it over and over again, and you are seeing it in the footage of these YouTubers. You have to take the information or leave it at some point, and that's just as honest as it gets. Thanks so much for watching the #1 brand in honesty, and until the next video, I'll see you guys later.